Welcome to the 18 Demon Claw podcast, where we discuss everything Kung Fu, philosophy, healing, spirituality, magic, and much more. And you're listening to the Last Emperor, the Lord General, the one and only SIFU.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome, warriors. Welcome to my podcast. This is the SIFU show and the launch of the 18 Demon Claw podcast. I hope to reach out and discuss all real Kung Fu with real Kung Fu SIFUs worldwide. But today, episode 1 is all about starting traditional Kung Fu. I'll be answering questions from online people, students, and the public. So let's get straight into it with the questions. Question 1. Why traditional Kung Fu? What has it got to offer? Well, this all depends on where you are in your life, right? Health-wise, age-wise. But the most important thing about starting Kung Fu is to have a goal, a plan. What type of style would suit you and your body shape, size, flexibility? Does the SIFU that's teaching this system that you choose have a background with combat? Because to me, you should be going into Kung Fu, real Kung Fu, for the first purpose is combat. Because it is a martial arts, not fucking ballet, right? So the first thing is have a mindset of fighting, because you need to protect yourself, your loved ones, friends, or anyone that could be possibly getting hurt. So don't go into traditional Kung Fu just for forms, because this is the downfall of Kung Fu today. Finding a real SIFU can be quite hard. And there's a saying that it's harder to find a good student than it is to find a good SIFU. Yes and no. A real SIFU will always train, will always be there for anyone, but students will always come and go, and not many usually stick around. The ones that do become very good, because the SIFU has pushed them to the limit and given them everything they could to become a well-rounded fighter, healer, and know everything about Chinese culture to a degree, especially if you're a Westerner. It can be quite daunting to start Kung Fu, because you're not just learning an art form of combat, but you're learning a complete culture of Chinese way of thinking, philosophy, energetics, how the mind works. And until you can kind of get and grasp those concepts and ideas and think more of an Asian mentality and way of living, then your Kung Fu will start to grow much more. So it's not about just going to training and going home and you're off to the pub, or you forgot, you're not even, when you finish your training you should be going home, and that's where your real training fucking starts, right? So whatever you learn off SIFU in class, you go home and that's where you now have to think and dig deep and be there by yourself practicing. That's what makes a real good Kung Fu man or woman. Someone that gets home and repeats non-stop whatever he was taught or she was taught. So Kung Fu in general, there's medicine to learn from a SIFU if they're willing to teach it. The healing side is just as important to the practitioner than just the combat, because you need to have a bit of knowledge on how to heal someone or yourself, especially if you hurt yourself through training. If you haven't got a SIFU, then it's very important to understand how to heal yourself. Then you get into the philosophy side of the healing, and you got, Taoist type of medicine, 5-element theory, yin yang, and so forth. So it becomes so deep that it's mixed with spirituality hidden within the systems. Some arts trace back to the Shaolin temples, some to the Taoist temples. So it's important to grasp and live the life, the real Kung Fu life. It's not just a so-so, do it 1 day a week or 2 days a week. You have to do it every day. You got to think of it all day when you're not training. You got to research and study, write down everything that you've learned. Because when you're writing, you're thinking. And as you're writing, you're saying it. So you're repeating. So it's another way of memorizing techniques, names of movements. Because once you start learning Kung Fu, you start learning either the Cantonese dialect or the Mandarin dialect, depending on where it's from. So it can be very daunting to a beginner, and they may be overwhelmed with too much. So it's important that you get into the martial arts with a goal, and the school or the teacher must be able to teach well. At the same time, they should be able to give you keys to unlock your own way of thinking, rather than give everything on a platter to you. Like myself, I give enough information, but I also give glimpses into answers that I don't fully give, so they can go and research, or I'll tell them to research this or that they can actually start to think for themselves. And that's really important. Then you've got the lion dance, dragon dance, unicorn, and again that becomes into the music side of the Chinese culture, the rituals, because it all is ritual, right? It's not just about dancing and taking the lucky money and pissing off. There's an actual ritual happening with everything within that dance. Drum beats, cymbals, gongs, mufajong, dancing on the poles, climbing a pole. There's all certain ways that strengthen the body. So Kung Fu has all the weapons and all the hand forms and all the Hei Gong, Qi Gong, meditation. There's so much more than just kicking and punching a bag, which I'll get into a bit, that lacks in other martial arts. But at the same time, it can be the downfall of a Kung Fu practitioner, because there's so much to learn that it might take a little longer than a person that's going to an MMA gym or a boxing gym. Because the way Kung Fu is set up, it starts with the basics, the footwork, stances, and so forth, and builds up from there. But I was lucky enough to find a SIFU that had students. I used to go and watch, my SIFU of Yao Gumun was Master Learn Chung, and he was the president of the Australian Chinese Martial Arts Association. And each year they used to hold martial art competitions, full contact, at Town Hall, called the Barbecue King Tournaments. And I used to go there and watch all the fights. And I used to go, who is this style with the black pants and the gold little arrow on the legs that were just knocking everyone out? And, I read it, Yolkum, when I didn't know. I was only so young, probably 12, 13, going to watch all these fights. And funny enough, when I used to, in high school, I used to jig school, or just not go to school. We called jigging school. And I used to head down to Chinatown with my best mate and go and check out all the different types of Kung Fu SIFUs and schools. There was Wing Chun down there from Jingfeng. There was the Choi Li Fut in Chinatown, Yao Gungmun, Jin Wu Kun. There was so many different Kung Fu schools in Chinatown in the 80s that every school competed against each other, and it was such a great time for Chinese Kung Fu back then, because each school truly represent their style. Even the Bakwa stylists would walk in with their way of walking a circle around their opponent, and then Choi Li Fut had the long arm swing to White Crane. The Butt Hop, the Lama style, had their style of fighting. Jin Woo Kun was big with the kickboxing. Chen Chuk Fei was an awesome fighter as well. Mick Spinks. All these masters were just so good, and it was a pleasure to meet some of them and train with some of them. When I was kickboxing, when I was 15, I used to go down to the Jin Woo Kun school, and we used to spar. It was always friendly. My Sifu at the time was John Suttle, and I used to fight under his school for kickboxing. And we used to go to all the schools and be open mat type of thing, come in on a Saturday morning and we'd all get in and spar. It was such a good time, but due to the rent in Chinatown, and it was just too much for most of the Kung Fu Sifus to pay, and they all closed down and moved out, and that was the end of Chinese martial arts in Chinatown. It was very sad, but I was very lucky enough to be able to witness it all and be part of it and train with Yolkum, and I fought kickboxing, traditional Kung Fu, full contact. I've also, growing up before Yolkum, I was doing Hapkido for many years and become the gold medalist for Australian Hapkido. So I've always competed sports at school. I was pretty good at footy. I boxed when I was 10. My dad took me up to the boxing gym at Redfern Police Boys, and I started boxing till I was about 12. I did Shotokan karate. I did everything I could do. I dabbled in everything I could. But once I got to, but there was something missing. Out of all of the stuff that I was good at, there was something missing for me. And when I got to Yolkum and I met my Sifu, it just changed my whole life. Because I got to witness my Sifu healing during the day. I worked in the city, so I was only 5 minutes from Sifu's Molgun in Chinatown. So he was open all day, healing people that come in off the street, and I'd come in during my lunch hour and practice, and then come back overnight and do some more, then go home and train again and repeat. But there was a time when I was training, I would have been about 16 or 17, and a lady was hit by a bus out the front of Sifu's Molgun on the main street. And I was just doing bag work or mukjong, whatever it was, and next minute they've carried this lady up and her whole leg was bent backwards. And I got to witness my Sifu reset her leg, knee, ankle, and patch her up with Tita medicine, and she was able to get a full recovery, and thanked him, and yep, no problem. He just smiled, and that to me blew my mind. You know, he's got bottles of herbs and powders and pills, the smell of the incense when you walk up the stairs in Chinatown to the Yolkwoman School with all the banners and the altars, lion heads everywhere, everyone's sweating and banging and smashing each other. Oh man, they were good times. But back to the question, traditional Kung Fu, it has so much to offer, but don't ever get put off by the amount of information, because that amount of information is thousands of years old and you'd be silly not to learn it. But make sure you've got a goal and that whatever you're doing inspires you. Your teacher needs to inspire you, the style as well. Otherwise people start and they never go through with it, and they'll never get the fruits from the practice. So Kung Fu, the name Kung Fu means hard work. So the amount of effort that you put in, you're going to get back. So SIFU means father and not really a master. So if you're good at art and you're a good painter, you're a SIFU. If you're good at something, a chef, you're also called a SIFU, right? So someone that's attained a skill through hard work and lots of practice and mastered the skill, they got good Kung Fu. And that's what that means. And SIFU, nowadays, yikes, in China, everyone's a fucking SIFU. And none of them can fight. Very sad situation, and I can see why it's made fun of. So that's question 1. Question 2. Is traditional Kung Fu street effective? Absolutely. Remember, I work in emergency department. I've worked on doors. I've done security for some of the rich and famous here in Australia as well, actors, singers and so forth. But at my line of job, I work in emergency department, and I get to use my skills every night, or at least every second night. I've been in scraps and I'm lucky enough to still be here. I've never been hurt. I've always ended the fight and I've come out pretty good. I've taught people how to defend themselves, even if it's the most basic of moves. I've taught someone just an eye jab and the person used that at a pub and poked the fucking guy's eye out. So it does work. Be very careful with it because it can get you in jail. Especially if you're doing iron skills like iron palm, iron fist training, iron bridge. Once you condition those arms, they're like iron poles, iron bars. And you do get you're very confident once those arms, because you got to understand, anyone that's trained with me, we do so much conditioning on the arms that you'd cop more punishment in one class than you would in a street fight on the arms. So when you do clash, you haven't got fear because you've been belted enough in class, right? So you should be able to eliminate some of the fear on the street and have that confidence that what you learn from your SIFU will work. But like I've always said, you got to have a fighter's mentality. You got to be sparring, even if it's light. You don't have to be a fucking pro fighter to get your sparring in. And sparring doesn't have to necessarily mean bashing the fuck out of each other, right? You could be teaching each other, slowing things down and just working on certain attributes or concepts, right? Because when you got a partner to train with, you get to see what they're doing wrong. And the partner should be helping the other partner, saying, hey, you're dropping that guard, or you're off angle there, I could have got you with this or that, right? So there's always, to be good at Kung Fu, there's always a Kung Fu brother, because you can't be good, fully good at Kung Fu in the fighting way, right? You'll never be a good Kung Fu fighter if you're not fucking fighting, right? I don't care what anyone says, and push hands, that is bullshit when it comes to reality, right? So a lot of people will cop out and don't want to get punched in the face or the body, so they'd rather do push hand practice and go, oh, I've got a skill. No, not at my school. Push hands is done for grappling purpose, for the clinch purpose only. So the way I teach any sensitivity on push hands or whatnot is based off getting a takedown or a throw or into a clinch type of setting, right? So it is effective, but it's up to the individual to be fucking training. Otherwise, don't blame your SIFU. Oh, fuck SIFU, this shit doesn't work, right? You got to fucking put that time in. You got to get punched a few times in the face. That's why Kung Fu has Tita medicine. That's why I always healing my students, always massaging, always teaching them how to fix themselves, right? You can't just go, oh yeah, we got Chinese medicine, we only do this when you got a sore back. No, Kung Fu training will get you injured, and from those injuries you get to use your medicine. That's what it was designed for. Not just, oh, I've got a sprained ankle from, running on the street. No, you get bruised and battered, especially at my school, right? We all do, even myself. Once the students get up to my level in hardness of the bone, I feel it too, trust me, right? So you've got to use your medicine, you've got to know about healing, right? So a good Kung Fu practitioner will be healthy and be strong. They shouldn't be overweight and fat. If you're really a Kung Fu guy or a woman, you're fucking training. You're developing that machine, your body to be fucking strong. Muscle, tendon power, bone force, heaviness, light skills, right? There's so much that you need to be putting in. And if you're not putting in that work, don't call yourself a Kung Fu SIFU. If you haven't even fucking fought anyone in your life, they shouldn't be called a SIFU either, in my honest opinion, right? Doing forms, I could probably get a good dancer that can pop and lock better than any SIFU that can punch. And then I've seen masters in China with hundreds of students doing all these forms and weapons, and as usual, they go into the ring because they think, I'm the shit, I'm the Grand Master. One punch and these fuckers are going down. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Lack of footwork, lack of fear. They're so scared that they don't know what to do, and you just tell by their footwork they've got nothing. So you're telling me a 20-year, 30 years of practice, some SIFUs in China, and they can't fucking hit a bag, not even for a minute out, they're fucking gassed from kicking in 1 minute, and that's not a SIFU. A SIFU is strong like a warrior. A real SIFU should be training as if he's going into a fight, like a UFC, right? Of course, we have to do all our forms, and we want to perfect movement, structure, power, yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, can you fucking fight? Can you throw it? Can you throw down when it needs to? Are you going to fucking run away or shit yourself and can't even do one thing. And if you haven't been sparring, you're never going to understand that fear on the street, because it fucking amps up even more, worse, because you're not in the cage, you're not in the ring where the ref can stop you or stop the other person from fucking killing you. So if you're not training with the intent, and I'm not saying that you have to have an intent to want to kill everyone, but you have to have that switch built in, that if you're going to fucking come at me, you're going to be in for a fight. You're going to know that you're going to be fighting for your life. And that's the type of mentality you should be able to switch at an instant. From good guy to fucking demon. Because that's what fighting is. It's ugly, it's dirty, it's evil. I hate fighting. Street fighting is fucking horrible. I don't like it. But I have to. I'll fucking... That's just the way it is. It's them or you. And if you're not putting in that work and really hitting bags and pads and sparring and getting punched back, and how do you know how you react to pain? Blood coming out of your face, your nose broken, your jaw fucking hanging down, blood pissing out. How are you going to respond if you've never been hit hard? And this is the difference. A real Kung Fu SIFU, find one that fights, but also understands the whole art, right? Yes, I'm 53 now. I'm not going in any competitions fighting now. It's time to look at longevity, but you can still spar. It doesn't have to necessarily be trying to kill each other, but it's so important to have a go. A lot of SIFUs are so scared that they're going to get hit by their student. It makes them look bad. Are you fucking kidding me? I hope I get hit by my students. I want to get hit by my students, otherwise they haven't fucking learnt anything. So it's a must. Don't be scared, SIFUs out there. Have a go. Doesn't have to be hard sparring. Start light and build it up. And that will make your Kung Fu street effective. Next question. Question 3. Why Kung Fu has a bad rep in mixed martial arts? Well, just getting back to the street effective. Have a look online. You'll see all these masters going into the ring because people have bullshitted to them, calling them grandmaster. And they've got all these students on the end of their dick. Sifu, you're so good. And they're doing one-step sparring techniques, and the Sifu smashes them because he already knows what the guy's throwing when you're doing a demonstration. But as soon as you go, okay, let's put the gloves on, or let's have a quick match, you see very fast that they lack the skill. And the first skill that I look for in any SIFU is the fucking footwork. Right? Footwork's going to get you out of trouble more than in trouble. And if you're lacking the footwork and the mobility, forget it. That's your first fucking line of defense. In and out, get out the way, move, step. And if you're not competent in your footwork, that's like, pugilism 101. No footwork, you stand there admiring the fucking person, looking at them, expect to fucking get hit. Right? A lot of SIFUs say stand there and they cop the leg kicks and they're doing all this iron body, or they stand in a horse stance for, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but then they can't move because they haven't learnt mobility. Standing in a horse stance should only have to be done for maybe the first week for a student just to grasp the idea of the stance, right? Because once you get into the internal aspects of standing meditation and so forth, that's where you get your standing meditation and your leg work, right? But you should be focusing on the combat side of stepping and footwork. And then from the footwork, you've got your body postures, right? You've got your body defensive movements, your bob weave, snapbacks. Then you got your bridge, the parry. But none of that will work if you got fucked footwork. So the footwork is the most crucial part of combat, and that's why just look online and see all these masters getting dropped and have a look at their footwork. I just watched one where this Taoist master does all this Fa Jing type of stupid shit before the fight, and then once the ref says start, he's fucking jogging on the spot, tippy toes, and then the guy just knocks him out one fucking punch where he almost killed him. He slapped him so fucking bad I was laughing my head off. It just goes to show, you can be a monk, you can be a Taoist and look so fucking cool in all those robes and shit, but when it comes to reality, fuck that. I don't give a fuck what you got on. You have to throw down. You got to be an animal. You got to train with that intensity, and it will work. If you just listen to my last lecture on the hammer fist, for UFC fighters should be learning hammer fist. In the street, you break your knuckles, you do something fucking stupid, trying to punch a guy in the head, and you're just swinging for no reason, without even a thought of, you just reacting stupidly because of lack of experience. Expect to get your ass fucking handed to you. But if you train properly, pad work and bags, and you're doing all that, see, all the basics is the real kung fu. The forms are there to help later on in life as you get older. Yep, it's unreal exercise. I love the forms. I love all the weapons because it's another extension of power. Doing heavy weapons, it builds the body up. So as I get older, of course, I'm not going to be sparring. I can't afford to be getting hurt. I'm going to look at more of the longevity, right? But you young people out there that's starting, don't miss the opportunity to spar. Don't miss the opportunity to compete, even if it's semi-contact, grappling, judo, boxing, or just in class. Ask your SIFU. If you don't know how to spar, you should be asking SIFU, why aren't we sparring? And if he's like, oh, it's too deadly, get the fuck out of there quick. Alright? So that's why Kung Fu has a bad rep, because a lot of these Chinese masters are going into the ring, or into the cage, in China, and they're getting annihilated within seconds. And it hurts. It hurts to see Kung Fu going down like this, but I'm not fucking responsible for these fucking idiots. These grandmasters should know better, but no, they're all about the money, all about the prestige and the fucking title. Fuck the titles off, train your ass off, become the best you can be a fucking beast. Be an animal. Get that demon out of you, right? You need to fight. You need to be able to protect your loved ones, your kids, or anyone, yourself, the most important. But whenever you do your training, make sure you go home. Like I tell all my students, document, write it all down. What you felt, what you didn't feel. Can you do better? You know, set yourself a goal. Be inspired by your SIFU. If he's real, that should inspire you. And when you go through the forms, you pick out the forms, you pick the techniques that are the most useful, that work for you. Just like Bruce Lee said, Chinese Kung Fu can be a classical mess. And that's only because it's a lack of experience for fighting. You can have all those forms and still be an amazing fighter if you put the fighting side into it. Unfortunately, it's just been taken away for some reason. And I believe the Westerners, we go fucking harder than a lot of the Chinese. And that's not being racist. A lot of the Guaylo, us fucking Guaylo, got more respect for the arts than some of the Chinese I've met in Hong Kong and in Guangzhou. They know once I was there, we want to bang. Oh, no, we don't do that. Oh, fucking excuse. What are you doing there? You're just fucking playing bullshit. You know, but yet, because they've been doing it longer than me, I have to give them respect. I'll call them a SIFU when I know in my heart, you're fucking not a SIFU. You can't fight for shit. You're just a fucking pajama wearing form fairy. It's very sad. But I would love to work with a mixed martial artist, someone young and fucking hungry. Come, I'll teach you for free how to smash someone in the ring using real Kung Fu. Guaranteed. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this first episode of the 18 Demon Claw podcast. And I hope to be doing many more and reaching out to all you good SIFUs that I know. The ones that are real. The ones that keep it fucking 108% all the time. I see he's out there. I see how he's teaching you guys. I respect that. Because she's actually fight. Tao bless. Till next time. SIFU GGG is out.
Welcome to the 18 Demon Claw podcast, where we discuss everything Kung Fu, philosophy, healing, spirituality, magic, and much more. And you're listening to the Last Emperor, the Lord General, the one and only SIFU GGG.